$3,000 every month until Waitress reveals she is alive. Lucian Kane kicked down the door to his mother-in-law's house at exactly 9:47 p.m., gun drawn, fury radiating from every inch of his body. The wood splintered, the frame shattered, and there, in a living room, frozen mid-laugh with champagne glasses in their hands, were two women who should have been strangers but clearly weren't. His mother-in-law, Mrs. Chun, and a woman with a different face but eyes he'd recognize anywhere. Celeste, his dead wife, very much alive. That's her. Sarah's voice trembled behind him. That's Celeste, just like I told you. The champagne glass slipped from Celeste's fingers, shattered against the hardwood. Lucian. Oh God. Lucian, I can explain. Explain? His voice was deadly calm as he stepped into the room, his security team flooding in behind him. Explain how you're alive when I buried you 5 years ago. Explain how you've been living in California while I've been sending your mother $3,000 every month. Please, by all means, explain. Before we dive into this story, you think you should make them all pay. Mrs. Chun bolted for the back door. Two of Lucian's men caught her before she made it 3 steps, dragged her back into the living room. She was screaming, crying, begging. Lucian didn't even look at her. His eyes were locked on Celeste, on this ghost who destroyed 5 years of his life. Sit down, both of you. They sat on the couch, trembling. Sarah stayed near the entrance, her heart hammering so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. She'd brought him here. She told him the truth 2 hours ago in his office, shown him the photos, the proof, watched his face transform from stone to something terrifying. And now they were here, in this suburban house that reeked of betrayal, and Sarah wondered if she'd just orchestrated murders. 5 years. Lucian's voice shook with barely controlled rage as he circled them like a predator. 5 years I sent money. 5 years I grieved. 5 years I honored a deathbed promise to take care of your mother, Celeste. The night before you supposedly died, you cried in my arms. You made me swear I'd take care of her. And I did. Every month. $3,000. Never late. Never missed. Lucian, please. And all of it was a lie. He stopped in front of her, gun hanging loose in his hand. You were sleeping with Philip Morrison while we were married. Planning your escape. Planning to make me think you were dead. It wasn't supposed to go on this long. Celeste's voice cracked. We were going to surface after a few months. File for divorce. But then we realized. Realized what? That it was easier to let me grieve? That taking my money was more profitable than honesty? I couldn't breathe in your world. The tears started, the manipulation she'd always used. Your violence, your business, the constant danger. I was suffocating. Philip offered me a way out. So you put a corpse in a car. Lucian's voice dropped to something worse than shouting. You burned a Jane Doe beyond recognition. You made me identify a body that wasn't you based on jewelry you'd planted. You made me believe my wife died screaming in a fire. I never meant to hurt you. You faked your death. The roar exploded out of him. You let me bury a stranger. You let me stand at a gravestone for 5 years, thinking you were underneath it. You let me destroy myself with grief while you were living your perfect California life with your plastic surgeon boyfriend. He's my husband now. The words slipped out before Celeste could stop them. Lucian's gun came up, aimed directly at her face. Say that again. Sarah moved without thinking, put herself between the gun and Celeste. Don't. Please. She's not worth it. Get out of the way, Sarah. Lucian's voice was ice. No. Sarah's hands were shaking, but she didn't move. You kill her, you go to prison. You lose everything you've built. She's not worth that. She destroyed 5 years of my life. So don't let her destroy the rest. Sarah's eyes met his. Make her pay a different way. Make her suffer like you suffered. But don't throw away your future for her. Something shifted in Lucian's expression. The gun lowered slowly. You're right. Death is too easy. He made a call. Within minutes, more of his people arrived. Lawyers, investigators, people who specialized in making lives hell. Lucian orchestrated it with cold precision. I want every illegal thing Philip Morrison has ever done exposed. Every law he broke, helping her fake her death. Every regulation he violated. Destroy his medical license, his reputation, his practice. Make sure he never works again. His lawyer nodded, already making calls. And her. Lucian pointed at Celeste. Fraud charges. Conspiracy. Falsifying death records. Identity theft for whatever name she's been using. I want her prosecuted to the fullest extent. Lucian, please. We can work this out. Celeste tried to stand. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Can't we sit down before I change my mind about keeping you breathing? The words came out flat, emotionless, somehow more terrifying than his earlier rage. What about me? Mrs. Chen's voice was small, terrified. I'm her mother. I was just trying to help my daughter. You took my money for 5 years knowing she was alive. Lucian turned that cold gaze on her, knowing I was grieving a lie. You laughed about it. I heard you on the phone tonight, celebrating that the money keeps coming, that I have no idea. Sarah had told him everything. About overhearing Mrs. Chun at Nocturne, about the phone call, about how she bragged that they were set for life. Elder fraud. Lucian's lawyer supplied. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Accepting money under false pretenses. She's looking at serious time. I'm 67 years old. Mrs. Chun started crying. I can't go to prison. You should have thought of that before you helped your daughter destroy me. Police arrived next. Cops on Lucian's payroll. Detectives who owed him favors. They took statements, collected evidence. Celeste and Mrs. Chun were handcuffed, read their rights. Both screaming, both begging, both realizing too late that Lucian Kane wasn't a man who forgave betrayal. What about Philip Morrison? Sarah asked quietly as they watched the police cars drive away with Celeste and her mother inside. He's being arrested in California as we speak. Lucian's voice was empty. Conspiracy, fraud, corruption of evidence, illegal disposal of human remains. He'll be extradited here to face charges. It's really over then. The arrests are just the beginning. Lucian turned to look at her, and Sarah saw exhaustion beneath the fury. I'm going to make sure they spend years in legal hell. Make sure every penny they have goes to lawyers. Make sure their lives are as destroyed as mine was. Will that make you feel better? I don't know. His shoulders sagged slightly, but letting them walk away would eat me alive. Then do what you need to do. Sarah stepped closer. Just don't let it consume you. Why do you care? The question came out raw. You barely know me. You're a waitress at a restaurant I go to. Why do you care what happens to me? Sarah had been asking herself that question for weeks. I've watched you for 2 years. Every Tuesday at 7:15. Same table, same order, same dead eyes. I've watched you exist instead of live. And when my cousin sent me those photos of Celeste, when I realized what had been done to you, I couldn't just let it continue. You risked telling me. Risked my anger. Risked everything bringing me here tonight. Because you deserve the truth. Sarah's voice cracked. Because no one should suffer for a lie. Because I've been falling for a ghost of a man for 2 years, and I wanted to see if there was someone real underneath all that grief. The confession hung between them. Lucian stared at her like she'd spoken another language. You're falling for me, he repeated slowly. You watched me mourn another woman for 2 years, and you're falling for me? I know it's insane. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. I know you probably think I'm crazy or desperate, or I think you're the bravest person I've ever met. Lucian closed the distance between them. You walked into my office tonight, knowing I could have killed you for wasting my time. You stood between me and a gun tonight, knowing I could have shot through you. That's not crazy. That's extraordinary. I just wanted you to have a chance at happiness again. I don't remember what happiness feels like. His hand came up, almost touched her face, then dropped. But standing here with you is the first time in 5 years I've felt anything besides grief or rage. Then maybe that's a start. Lucian's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. Philip Morrison's in custody. They're searching his clinic now. Found evidence of the body he used. Correspondence with Celeste planning the fake death. It's all there. Good. But there's a problem. Lucian's jaw clenched. Celeste calling in favors. Her family has money, connections. She's already got a high-powered defense attorney claiming I'm persecuting her, that she faked her death to escape my abusive control. That's insane. That's her play. Lucian's voice went cold. She's going to paint herself as a victim. Say I was violent, controlling, that faking her death was the only way to escape me. Were you? Sarah had to ask. Violent with her? Never. The word was absolute. I loved her completely. Gave her everything she wanted. The only violence in my life was business and I kept that far away from her. But she's betting a jury will believe the mafia boss is the villain. So we prove she's lying. How? Lucian looked at her. It's my word against hers. And I'm exactly what she says I am, a criminal. A man who hurts people for a living. Why would anyone believe me over her? Because the evidence doesn't lie. Sarah grabbed her phone. My cousin Bailey works at the clinic in California where Celeste went for cosmetic work. She has records, dates, proof that Celeste was planning this for over a year. That she was having an affair with Philip, that they were moving money around, preparing for her disappearance. That's not enough to prove I wasn't abusive. No, but it proves premeditation. It proves this wasn't a desperate woman escaping danger. This was a calculated plan to defraud you and start a new life. Sarah pulled up messages, photos, everything Bailey had sent. We have social media posts of her living in luxury in California. We have marriage certificates showing she married Philip less than 6 months after her supposed death. We have bank records showing she accessed money she'd hidden from you. All of it paints a picture of a con, not an escape. Lucian studied the evidence, something like hope flickering in his eyes. You really did your research. I had weeks to prepare before telling you. Sarah met his gaze. I wasn't going to blow up your life without being absolutely certain I could prove the truth. Why? The question again, softer this time. Why go to all this trouble for someone you don't even know? Because I do know you. Sarah's voice was fierce. Maybe not the details of your life, but I know you're a man who keeps his promises, who honors his commitments even when they cost him, who tips well and says thank you and held the door for an elderly couple last month without thinking about it. I know enough to know you didn't deserve what she did to you. Lucian looked at her for a long moment. Then he did something Sarah had never seen in 2 years of watching him. He smiled. Small, almost invisible, but real. Thank you. For caring. For risking everything. For setting me free. What happens now? Now I make sure Celeste and her mother and Philip Morrison spend years regretting what they did. Lucian's voice was steel. And then I figure out who I am without the grief. Maybe I can help with that. Maybe you can. His eyes held hers. If you're willing to stick around while I deal with the fallout of tonight. I'm not going anywhere. The scandal hit the news within 48 hours. Dead wife returns alive. Mafia boss's 5-year grief built on elaborate fraud. Every outlet in the city ran variations of the story. Celeste's face was everywhere. Her perfect California life exposed and dissected. Philip Morrison's clinic was raided, his medical license suspended pending investigation. Mrs. Chin's mugshot circulated alongside her daughters. Lucian watched it all unfold from his penthouse office, orchestrating the legal destruction with cold precision. His lawyers filed civil suits. His investigators dug up every piece of evidence. His contacts in law enforcement ensured the criminal charges stuck. He was methodical, ruthless, focused entirely on making them pay. Sarah watched him disappear into the work. He stopped coming to Nocturne, stopped maintaining routines, just worked 18-hour days coordinating the cases against Celeste, Philip, and Mrs. Chun. She tried texting him, calling, but got one-word responses if she got anything at all. 2 weeks after the confrontation, she showed up at his office unannounced. His security tried to turn her away, but she pushed past them. I need to see him. Now. Miss Wright, Mr. Kane, is in a meeting. I don't care. Sarah marched toward his office. Either let me through or physically remove me. Your choice. They let her through. She burst into Lucian's office to find him surrounded by lawyers and investigators, documents covering every surface. He looked up, exhausted and hollow. Sarah, what are you doing here? Can we have the room? She didn't take her eyes off him. We're in the middle of. Now, please. Lucian gestured for everyone to leave. The room emptied. Sarah closed the door behind them, locked it. You're shutting down again, she said without preamble, disappearing into work, refusing to talk to anyone, building walls. I'm handling what needs to be handled. Lucian's voice was flat. Celeste's lawyers are claiming abuse. I need to build an airtight case proving she's lying. And you need to eat, sleep, actually live instead of just working yourself to death. I don't have time for her. Make time. Sarah crossed to his desk. When's the last time you ate a real meal? Slept more than 3 hours? Did anything besides obsess over destroying them? They destroyed 5 years of my life. So stop giving them more. She grabbed his hands, forced him to look at her. Every hour you spend consumed by this is another hour they're stealing from you. Don't you see that? What am I supposed to do? His control cracked slightly. Just forget what they did. Pretend it doesn't matter? No. Process it. Feel it. Be angry and hurt and betrayed. But don't let it consume you completely. Sarah's grip tightened. You have people who care about you. You have a life outside of this revenge. Don't forget that while you're burning them down. I don't know how to do both. The admission came out broken. I don't know how to deal with this and also just live normally. Then let me help. Come to my apartment tonight. Let me make you dinner. Let yourself be human for a few hours. Sarah, please. She wasn't above begging. I told you the truth to set you free, not to watch you build a different prison. Lucian looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression softened. Okay, tonight, but I need to finish this meeting first. I'll wait. Sarah settled into a chair in the corner. Take your time. His lawyers and investigators filed back in. Sarah watched them work, watched Lucian coordinate strategies and review evidence. He was brilliant at it, she realized. Strategic and ruthless and several steps ahead of everyone else. But he was also running himself into the ground. The meeting finally ended near 9 p.m. Lucian's driver took them to Sarah's tiny apartment in a neighborhood his security team clearly hated. She ignored their concerns, pulled Lucian inside. Sit. She pointed to her worn couch. I'll make dinner. I'm not hungry. You're eating anyway. She disappeared into the kitchen, started pulling out ingredients. Lucian sat, looked around her apartment. It was small, maybe a tenth the size of his penthouse. But it was warm, personal. Books on every surface, plants in the windows, photographs on the walls. It felt lived in, loved, real. Sarah emerged 20 minutes later with plates of pasta. Simple, but perfectly made. They ate in silence at her small table, and Lucian couldn't remember the last time food had actually tasted like something. Tell me about the case. Sarah said finally. What's happening with Celeste's defense? She's claiming I was abusive throughout our marriage, that she lived in fear, that faking her death was her only escape. Lucian's jaw clenched. Her lawyers are painting me as a monster who would have killed her if she tried to leave normally. Can they prove any of it? No, because it's not true. But they don't need proof in the court of public opinion. They just need people to believe the mafia boss is capable of anything. So we prove she's lying. What evidence do you have? Security footage from our home showing a happy marriage, no violence. Bank records showing she had access to unlimited money, could have left at any time. Phone records showing she was planning this for over a year with Philip. Testimony from staff who saw us together regularly. Sarah's cousin's evidence from California proving premeditation. That sounds solid. It is. But her lawyers are good. They're claiming I controlled everything, that she couldn't leave because I'd hunt her down. They're using my reputation against me. Then we find people who knew her, who saw through her act. Sarah grabbed her phone. Give me names of people who might have seen the real Celeste. Friends, staff, anyone who witnessed her behavior. Why? Because people who lie leave trails. She manipulated you for years. Chances are she manipulated others too. We find those people, we build a pattern showing she's a con artist, not a victim. Lucian stared at her. You're offering to help me destroy my ex-wife. I'm offering to help you prove the truth. There's a difference. They spent the next hour making lists, identifying potential witnesses. Sarah took notes, asked questions, organized information with an efficiency that surprised him. When did you get so good at investigation? I manage a restaurant. She smiled slightly. Same skills, different application. People, money, organization. It all translates. You're wasted as a waitress. I like being a waitress. But maybe someday, I'll open my own place. Sarah's expression went wistful. Somewhere warm and welcoming. Where the food is good and people feel at home. Why don't you? Money. It takes capital to start a restaurant. I've been saving for years, but it'll take decades to have enough. What if you had an investor? I don't want handouts. Not a handout. A partnership. Lucian leaned forward. I invest the capital. You run the creative side. We split profits. Lucian, I can't accept. Why not? He cut her off. Because of pride? Because you think it makes us unequal? We're already unequal. Sarah, I'm a criminal with blood on my hands. You're good and honest and everything I'm not. But you made me want to be better. So let me invest in something good. Something that's yours. She studied his face. You're serious. Completely. Equal partners. Not silent. I want your input, your expertise, and I pay you back with interest. Deal. He held out his hand. Partners in business and in life. Sarah shook it, felt something shift between them. This was more than just dinner and conversation. This was building something real. They talked late into the night. About the restaurant she dreamed of opening. About his businesses, both legitimate and less so. About the future beyond Celeste's trial and the revenge he was orchestrating. Near midnight, Lucian fell asleep on her couch mid-sentence. Sarah covered him with a blanket, watched him sleep. He looked younger, less burdened, almost peaceful. She wanted to give him that. Peace. Freedom from a betrayal that had defined 5 years of his life. A chance to actually live instead of just existing. The next morning, Lucian woke to the smell of coffee and breakfast. Sarah was in the kitchen, humming while she cooked. The domesticity of it hit him hard. When was the last time someone had made a breakfast? Cared if he ate? Noticed when he was running himself into the ground? Morning. Sarah slid a plate in front of him. How'd you sleep? Better than I have in weeks. He accepted the coffee gratefully. Thank you for last night. For pulling me out of my head. You're allowed to feel everything you're feeling. She sat across from him. Angry, betrayed, hurt. But you can't let it be the only thing you feel. There has to be room for other things too. Like what? Like hope. Joy. Connection. She met his eyes. Like whatever this is between us. What is this between us? Lucian asked. Because I need to know if what I'm feeling is real or just gratitude for what you did. What are you feeling? Like the first real thing in my life in 5 years. Like you see me, the actual me, not the reputation or the power. Like I could fall completely in love with you if I let myself. Sarah's breath caught. I've been half in love with you for 2 years. Watching you grieve, wanting to help, knowing I couldn't reach you. And now you're here in my apartment, and I don't know if this is real or if I'm just the person who happened to tell you the truth. Let's find out. Lucian reached across the table, took her hand. Let's date properly. Get to know each other when I'm not drowning in rage and revenge. See if this connection survives outside of crisis. I'd like that. They started slow. Dinners when Lucian could pull himself away from the legal cases. Long phone calls where they talked about everything and nothing. Sarah met some of his people, saw how they respected him, how he treated them with fairness, even in a brutal business. Lucian saw how Sarah moved through the world. Kind to everyone, generous with her time, making people feel valued. She was good in a way he'd forgotten existed, and being near her made him want to be better. 3 weeks after the confrontation at Mrs. Chen's house, the first court date arrived. Celeste's arraignment on fraud charges. Lucian asked Sarah to come with him. Why? Because I need someone there who actually cares about me, not just the outcome. Will you come? Yes. The courthouse was chaos. Media everywhere, cameras flashing. Lucian's lawyers had prepared him for this, but seeing Celeste walk in wearing prison orange still hit hard. She looked smaller, diminished, her perfect beauty faded without makeup and designer clothes. Her eyes found his across the courtroom. Tried to appeal to him one last time. Lucian, please. I made a mistake. Can we work this out? Work this out. His voice was cold enough to freeze. You faked your death. Stole from me. Made me grieve for 5 years. There's nothing to work out. I loved you once. No, you didn't. You love what I could give you. There's a difference. The judge set bail at $500,000. Celeste couldn't make it. She'd spent everything building her California life. Now she'd sit in jail until trial. Mrs. Chen's arraignment was next. Conspiracy charges, fraud, accepting money under false pretenses. The judge denied bail entirely. She was a flight risk, and at 67, she broke down sobbing in the courtroom. Watching it unfold, Sarah felt satisfaction mixed with sadness. So many lives destroyed because one woman couldn't be honest about what she wanted. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Is it true your wife faked her death? Did you know she was alive? Are you pressing charges? Lucian's security pushed through them, got him and Sarah to the car. "How do you feel?" Sarah asked once they were safely away. "Empty." Lucian stared out the window. "I thought seeing her in handcuffs would feel good. Vindication. But it's just empty. Because revenge doesn't actually heal anything. Then what does? Time. Processing. Actually dealing with what she did instead of just destroying her." Sarah took his hand. "And maybe building something new with someone who actually values you. Is that what we're doing? Building something new?" "I think so. If you want to." "I want to." Lucian pulled her closer. "I want to see if we can be something real when we're not caught up in crisis and revelation." "Then let's try." For months after the confrontation, Lucian and Sarah found a rhythm. She still worked at Nocturne while they searched for the perfect location for her restaurant. He split time between his businesses and the ongoing legal cases. And they dated. Actually dated. Dinners, walks, long conversations that lasted until dawn. Sarah learned things about Lucian that surprised her. He donated anonymously to children's charities. He put 3 of his staff members' kids through college. He read voraciously, preferred jazz to anything else, could quote poetry from memory. He wasn't just the ruthless crime boss everyone feared. He was complicated, layered, trying to be better than what he'd been raised to be. Lucian learned Sarah was stronger than she looked. She'd grown up poor, raised herself after her mother left when she was 12, worked 3 jobs to get through community college, built herself from nothing with determination and grit. She had every reason to be bitter and hard, but instead she was kind, generous, saw the good in people even when they didn't deserve it. "I don't understand how you stayed so soft," Lucian said one night. "After everything you've been through, who's as soft as weak?" Sarah countered, "It takes more strength to stay kind in a cruel world than to become cruel yourself. You make me want to be softer." "Good." She kissed him. "The world has enough hard men. Be soft with me." They found the perfect space for her restaurant in the 5th month. A corner lot with huge windows, exposed brick, good bones. Sarah walked through it with tears in her eyes, already seeing what it could become. "This is it." She turned to Lucian. "This is the place. Then it's yours." He was already on the phone with his lawyers, arranging the purchase. The restaurant became their project. Sarah designed every detail, the layout, the menu, the atmosphere she wanted to create. Lucian connected her with contractors, designers, suppliers. But he let her make all the creative decisions, just supported her vision. Working together showed Sarah different sides of him. He was meticulous, detail-oriented, had business instincts that were terrifyingly accurate. But he also deferred to her expertise, valued her opinions, treated her like an equal partner. "You're good at this," she told him one day while reviewing construction plans. "Supporting without controlling. I learned what not to do from Celeste." His voice was careful. "She always said I was too controlling." Maybe she was right. She was manipulating you. Sarah looked up from the plans. "Making you doubt yourself so you'd give her more freedom to plan her escape. You're not controlling with me. You're supportive. There's a difference." "How do you know?" "Because I'd tell you if you were crossing lines. I'm not afraid of you, Lucian. I'm in love with you, but I'm not afraid to push back. You're in love with me." He repeated the words like testing their weight. "Completely. Have been for months." Sarah met his eyes. "Is that a problem?" "No." His hands framed her face. "It's the best thing that's happened to me in years." He kissed her there in the empty restaurant space that would become hers, and Sarah felt something settle in her chest. This was real. This was worth the risk she'd taken telling him the truth. The legal proceedings ground forward. Celeste's trial was set for 8 months after her arrest. Philip Morrison was extradited from California, facing charges for his role in the fraud. His medical practice was destroyed, his reputation shattered. He took a plea deal, 3 years in prison for conspiracy and evidence tampering. Mrs. Chun went to trial first. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, bank records showing the monthly deposits, recorded phone calls where she discussed the fraud, testimony from neighbors who'd seen Celeste visiting. The defense tried to paint her as a confused, elderly woman manipulated by her daughter. It didn't work. Guilty on all counts. 3 years in prison. Lucian sat in the courtroom as the verdict was read, Sarah beside him. He felt nothing watching Mrs. Chun break down sobbing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just emptiness. Is it always like this? He asked Sarah on the drive home. Winning, but feeling like you lost? You didn't lose. You proved the truth. But revenge doesn't feel how people think it will. It doesn't erase what was done. Then what's the point? Justice. Accountability. Making sure they can't do this to anyone else. Sarah took his hand. And closure. Even if it doesn't feel satisfying, at least you know the truth is out there. Celeste's trial started 2 weeks later. The prosecution built their case methodically. Evidence of the affair, with Philip Morrison dating back over a year before her supposed death. Bank records showing she'd been moving money into hidden accounts. The Jane Doe whose body had been used, identified through DNA and dental records. Testimony from the medical examiner about how Philip had accessed bodies for research. Social media evidence from California showing Celeste living in luxury. Marriage certificates. Property records. Everything. Celeste's defense tried to counter. Claimed she'd been terrified of Lucian, that he was violent and controlling. Brought in a psychologist to testify about battered woman syndrome. Painted her as desperate and afraid. Faking her death as the only escape. The prosecution destroyed it piece by piece. Security footage from their home showing a happy marriage, no signs of abuse. Testimony from household staff who never witnessed violence. Bank records proving Celeste had unlimited access to money. Phone records showing she'd been planning the fake death for months, excited about her new life with Philip. Sarah's cousin Bailey testified remotely from California. Detailed how Celeste had come in for cosmetic consultations, how she discussed wanting to look different for her new life, how she'd been giddy about escaping her boring marriage and starting fresh. Friends of Celeste testified. One admitted Celeste had bragged about playing Lucian, about how easy it was to manipulate him with tears. Another revealed Celeste had called Lucian her meal ticket, said she'd married him for money and security, not love. Each testimony was a knife. Lucian sat through it all, his face carved from stone, learning exactly how little his wife had valued him. Sarah held his hand through the worst of it, anchoring him when the revelations threatened to pull him under. She never loved me, he said one night after a particularly brutal day of testimony. Not once. I was just a resource to her. I'm sorry. Sarah pulled him close. I'm so sorry she did this to you. I gave her everything. His voice broke. Everything I had. And she threw it away like it meant nothing. Because she's broken inside. Not because you weren't enough. Sarah made him look at her. You were more than enough. She was just incapable of valuing what she had. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Fraud, conspiracy, falsifying death records, identity theft. The judge sentenced her to 5 years in prison plus restitution of every dollar she'd taken. Celeste screamed as they led her away. This is your fault, Lucian. You did this. I hope you're happy destroying my life. You destroyed your own life. His voice was flat. I just made sure you face consequences. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. How do you feel about the verdict? Do you think justice was served? What's next for you? Lucian ignored them all, got into the car with Sarah. They drove in silence back to his penthouse. Is it really over? Sarah asked. The legal part is. Lucian poured himself whiskey, drank it in one swallow. Celeste goes to prison. Philip's already there. Mrs. Chun is there. They all pay for what they did. But it doesn't change what happened. Doesn't give me back 5 years. Doesn't erase the fact that I loved someone who never existed. No, but it means you can finally move forward. Sarah moved to stand in front of him. You're free now, Lucian. Free from a lie. Free from grief. Free to actually build a life. What if I don't remember how? Then we figure out together. He pulled her into his arms, held her like she was the only solid thing in his universe. What did I do to deserve you? You were yourself, flawed and complicated and trying to be better. That's all I ever needed. They stood there as the sun set over the city, and Lucian felt something shift. The weight he'd been carrying for 5 years, the grief and rage and betrayal, started to lift. Not gone, but lighter, manageable. The restaurant opened 2 months after Celeste's sentencing. Sarah named it Rights, a play on her last name and the idea of making things right. It was beautiful. Warm lighting, exposed brick, an open kitchen where guests could watch their food being prepared. The menu was accessible but elevated. The atmosphere felt like home. Lucian was there opening night, sitting at the bar watching Sarah work her dream. She was radiant, confident, completely in her element. She'd hired a talented young chef, built a team that worked together seamlessly, created something that was entirely hers. "She's incredible," Sarah's chef said, bringing Lucian a drink. "You're lucky to have her." "I know." Lucian couldn't take his eyes off her. "Best thing that ever happened to me." After closing, when the last guest left and the staff was cleaning up, Sarah found Lucian still at the bar. "You stayed all night. Wouldn't miss it." He pulled her close. "I'm so proud of you. This place is everything you dreamed of. We did this." She corrected. "Your investment, your connections, your support. This is ours. It's yours. I just helped make it possible. Partners." She kissed him softly. "In everything." "Speaking of partners." Lucian's voice went serious. "Move in with me." Sarah pulled back to look at him. "What?" "My penthouse is huge and empty. Your apartment is tiny and you're barely there anymore anyway. Move in with me. Not because it's convenient, but because I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. I want to build a life with you. You're sure? It's only been 8 months since I told you about Celeste. Best 8 months of my life." His hands cupped her face. "I wasted 5 years grieving a lie. I don't want to waste another second. So yes, I'm sure. Move in with me. Sarah, choose me." "Yes." She didn't hesitate. "Yes, I'll move in with you." They went back to his penthouse that night, started the process of making it theirs instead of just his. Sarah slowly transformed the cold, impersonal space. Added color, brought in plants, hung photographs, made it feel warm and lived in. Lucian loved watching her claim his space, make it home. Loved coming back to find her cooking in the kitchen, or reading in the library, or just existing in his world. She made everything better, lighter, more alive. But there were still hard days. Days when the betrayal felt fresh, when Lucian spiraled into anger and bitterness. Days when he questioned everything about those 5 years with Celeste, wondered what had been real and what had been performance. Sarah learned to navigate those days, give him space when he needed it, hold him when he needed that instead, remind him that Celeste's betrayal didn't define him, didn't diminish what he'd built since. "You're allowed to still be angry," she told him during one particularly difficult night. "You're allowed to grieve the time you lost, but don't let her steal any more of your future. How do you always know what to say?" "I don't. I just know you, and I know you're stronger than the worst thing that ever happened to you." 1 year after Sarah told him the truth, Lucian took her to Wright's after closing. The restaurant was dark, empty, just the two of them. "What's this about?" Sarah asked. "I have something to say." Lucian led her to a table, sat her down. "1 year ago tonight, you walked into my office and destroyed my entire world. Told me my dead wife was alive, that I've been grieving a lie for 5 years. I remember. It was the worst and best night of my life." He took her hands. "Worst because learning the truth shattered everything I thought I knew. Best because it brought you into my life fully. Made me see you, really see you. Lucian, I spent 5 years mourning someone who never existed. Someone who used me and discarded me and laughed about it. And then you came along, real and honest and brave enough to tell me the truth, even though it could have gotten you killed. I love you, Sarah." Lucian's voice was raw, honest. "I'm completely in love with you, and I don't want to waste another second of my life without you in it." He pulled out a small box, opened it to reveal a ring. "Simple, elegant, perfect. Marry me. Build forever with me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I deserve the courage you showed me." Sarah's tears spilled over. "Yes. God, yes, I'll marry me." The ring slid onto her finger perfectly. Lucian stood, pulled her into his arms, kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. And maybe he had been for 5 years, until she'd given him a reason to breathe again. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony in Wright's private dining room, surrounded by people who mattered. Lucian's security team stood as groomsmen, loyal men who'd watched their boss come back to life over the past year. Sarah's cousin Bailey flew in from California, the woman who'd accidentally started everything by sending that photo. During the ceremony, Lucian's vows made everyone cry. You took a dead man and taught him to live again. You took my grief and turned it into hope. You risked everything to tell me a truth that could have gotten you killed, and in doing so, you gave me my life back. I promise to spend every day proving I'm worthy of that courage. I promise to love you with the honesty you showed me. I promise to build something real with you, something that lasts. Sarah's vows were simpler, but just as powerful. I promise to keep telling you the truth, even when it's hard. I promise to stand beside you through everything. I promise to love you exactly as you are, while helping you become who you want to be. And I promise to remind you every day that you deserve happiness, that you deserve love, that you deserve to actually live. The reception was perfect, dancing and laughter and joy. Lucian smiled more in one night than he had in 6 years. His people celebrated, relieved to see their boss finally free from the grief that had haunted him. Late in the evening, Sarah found him on the restaurant's back patio, looking at the city lights. Escaping your own wedding? Just taking a moment. He pulled her close, trying to wrap my head around how different my life is from a year ago. Better different? Infinitely better. His arms tightened around her. A year ago, I was a ghost. Now I'm married to the woman who saved my life. You saved yourself. I just told you the truth. You did more than that. Lucian turned her to face him. You believed I deserved better. You cared enough about a stranger to risk everything. That's not just telling the truth. That's heroic. I'm not a hero. I just couldn't watch you suffer anymore. That's exactly what makes you one. He kissed her softly. My hero. My wife. My everything. They honeymooned in Italy, 2 weeks away from businesses and restaurants and the remnants of Celeste's betrayal. Just them, exploring cities and eating incredible food and learning each other without the weight of crisis hanging over them. Sarah saw Lucian truly relax for the first time, laughing at tourist traps, getting lost in Venice's winding streets, drinking wine on balconies overlooking the Mediterranean. This was who he was supposed to be, lighter, freer, alive. I could get used to this, Lucian said one evening, watching the sunset from their hotel balcony. What being happy? Being with you without everything else weighing us down. Just us. We can have that home too. Sarah leaned against him. We just have to choose it every day. Then I choose it. He turned her in his arms. Every day for the rest of my life, I choose you. They came home to find Wright's thriving. Sarah's assistant manager had handled everything perfectly. The restaurant was packed every night. Reviews were glowing. There was talk of opening a second location. You built something incredible, Lucian told her, watching her check in with her team. I'm so proud of you. We built it. Together. No, this is yours. I just gave you the capital. Everything else, the vision, the execution, the success, that's all you. Partners. She insisted. In everything, life settled into a new rhythm. Sarah ran Wright's, expanding the business with Lucian's support but her own vision. Lucian gradually legitimized more of his operations, moving away from the violent parts of his empire. He wanted to build something Sarah could be proud of, something that wouldn't put her in danger. Celeste served 18 months of her 5-year sentence before Lucian got a call. She was sick. Cancer, aggressive, terminal. The prison wanted to know if he'd support compassionate release. Sarah was there when he got the news. She watched his face carefully. What are you going to do? I don't know. Lucian's voice was flat. Part of me wants to let her rot. Part of me knows that makes me as bad as her. What does your gut say? That I'm tired of her having any power over my emotions. That whether she dies in prison or outside doesn't actually matter to me anymore. Then let her go. Sarah took his hand. Not for her sake, but for yours. Let go of the last piece of anger and move on completely. Lucian signed the papers. Celeste was released to hospice care. She died 3 weeks later, alone except for a hospice nurse. Philip Morrison was still in prison. Mrs. Chun had been released after 18 months for good behavior, moved away to live with relatives in another state. When Lucian got word of Celeste's death, he felt nothing. No satisfaction, no grief, no anger. Just a distant sadness for the woman she could have been if she'd chosen honesty over deception. Is it wrong that I don't feel anything? He asked Sarah. No, it means you've moved on. She's just someone who hurt you once. not someone who defines you anymore. 3 years into their marriage, Sarah got pregnant. Lucian was terrified, terrified of being a father, terrified of passing on his darkness, terrified of failing this innocent life they'd created. What if I mess this up? He asked at 3 a.m., his hand on Sarah's growing belly. What if I'm too damaged to be a good father? You're going to be amazing. Sarah covered his hand with hers. You're gentle and protective and so full of love you don't know what to do with it all. Our baby is lucky to have you. I never thought I'd get this. A real family, a real life. After Celeste, I thought I was done. She didn't get to take this from you. Sarah's voice was fierce. She took 5 years, but she doesn't get to take your future. This baby, this life we're building, that's all ours. She has no part in it. Their daughter was born on a Tuesday, exactly 4 years after Sarah first told Lucian the truth. They named her Elena, after Lucian's sister. She had Sarah's eyes and Lucian's determination, and the moment Lucian held her, he broke down crying. I'm going to give you everything, he whispered to the tiny baby in his arms. Every opportunity, every advantage, every ounce of love I have. You're going to know you're wanted every single day of your life. Sarah watched him with their daughter and saw only gentleness, only devotion. This dangerous man, who'd orchestrated the destruction of his enemies, was tender beyond words with this fragile new life. You're nothing like you feared, she told him later. You're everything good, trying to believe you deserve this. I don't deserve this. Lucian looked at his wife and daughter. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of it anyway. Rights expanded to 3 locations over the next 5 years. Sarah built an empire of her own, restaurants known for incredible food and genuine hospitality. She hired people who needed second chances, created opportunities for those who'd been overlooked, built something that mattered beyond profit. Lucian continued transforming his businesses. More legitimate ventures, fewer violent operations. He wanted to leave his daughter something she could be proud of, a legacy that wasn't just built on fear. One evening, 7 years after Sarah told him the truth, they stood in the original Wrights location watching the dinner rush. Their daughter Elena was with Lucian's security team, probably charming them into letting her stay up past bedtime. You ever regret it? Lucian asked, telling me about Celeste, blowing up your safe life? Not once. Sarah leaned against him. Best risk I ever took. You saved my life that night. We saved each other. She turned to look at him. I gave you truth. You gave me love and support and the chance to build my dreams. Fair trade. More than fair. He pulled her close. You gave me everything. They stood there watching the restaurant that had brought them together, the life they'd built from ruins and betrayal and one waitress's courage. Sarah thought about that night in Lucian's office, how terrified she'd been, how certain he might kill her for wasting his time. And she thought about everything that came after. The confrontation at Mrs. Chen's house, the trials and testimony, the slow building of trust and love, the restaurant, the marriage, the daughter sleeping peacefully at home. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell someone the truth they need to hear, even when it costs you everything, even when it might destroy you. Because sometimes, just sometimes, that truth sets everyone free. I love you, Sarah said, looking at the man who'd been dead inside until she'd forced him to see reality. Thank you for not killing me that first night. Lucian laughed, the sound rich and genuine and full of life. Thank you for being crazy enough to risk it, for caring about a stranger, for seeing something in me worth saving. I didn't save you. You were always worth it. You just needed someone to remind you. Then thank you for the reminder. He kissed her softly, and for every day since. Years later, when Elena asked how her parents met, Sarah would tell her a simplified version, that she worked at a restaurant Daddy visited, that she helped him with something important, that they fell in love while building something beautiful together. The full truth about Celeste's betrayal, about 5 years of grief built on lies, about a waitress brave enough to shatter a mafia boss's world. That would come later, when Elena was old enough to understand that sometimes love grows from the wreckage of what came before, that sometimes the best things in life start with someone being courageous enough to tell a difficult truth. But for now, standing in Wrights with his wife in his arms and his daughter safe at home, Lucian felt something he hadn't felt in over a decade. Complete happiness. the kind built on honesty and trust, and choosing each other every single day. Celeste had taken 5 years from him, but Sarah had given him forever. And that was worth every second of pain, every moment of betrayal, every hard truth he'd had to face. Because the truth, no matter how painful, had set him free. And freedom had led him here. To love, to family, to a life worth living. From devastating betrayal to epic love, from 5 years of lies to a lifetime of truth, from grief to joy. Lucian and Sarah's journey proves that sometimes the bravest act changes everything. One waitress's courage destroyed a lie and built a legacy. Want more incredible stories of justice, redemption, and turn on notifications? Drop a fire emoji if you're obsessed with their story. More amazing content